Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing the page that I've made for day 2 of the Junk Journal July challenge. The prompt is postcard today, and I thought I would start off by just sharing some different ways that I have used postcards within previous journals, just to give you some ideas if you're wanting some inspiration of how you can incorporate postcards within your journals, because there's a few different ways that I like to include them, so you might want to try that out. We also have the collaboration, of course, so the lovely Michelle over at Raspberry Blue Sky is sharing her take on the day's prompt. So the playlist link will be down below, so you can go and check out her video, and I'm sure she is creating an absolutely beautiful page. So the first example I wanted to show you was a postcard that is actually part of a page. So the way that I've included this postcard here in this journal is by actually making it part of the page itself. So you can see I've just stapled it here and here onto a page that is already smaller than this journal. And that way then I'm able to make it part of the page itself and use it as more of a background element. So this was just a vintage postcard. You can see bits of the postage stamp and the writing peeking out there, and then I have collaged on top of it and almost just treated it as a normal part of the page. I did include a little stamp there just as a nod to the fact that the page had this postcard on it, but I really enjoy the way that the page looks, and you get that kind of unevenness of the page, and even with a little tab here, I just think it's so fun. So using the postcard as an actual part of your page is one way that you could include a postcard. Another way you could use a postcard is to simply just tip in the ones that you receive from like friends and family, and I've just used a paper clip here to include it on a page with a bunch of other different collagey bits. I obviously won't turn this one over because this is an actual card that my friend sent me, and so it's just a nice way to save different memories if you have been on trips, or if you have friends that have sent you postcards from places that they've been. You can keep them then within your junk journals. So back to the vintage postcards, you can find these at like charity shops and thrift shops, antique places. You can sometimes even grab them on places like eBay in like bulk. They might sell like 50 postcards in a lot, and I really enjoy using these as a way of altering them and making them into almost like journal cards. I haven't actually done anything on the reverse of this one just because I really enjoyed the little sort of aging going on here in the different font. But I actually altered the front of this and used it as a way to do some collage. So you can see I've got some little found words and some paint, and also some roses that I had fussy cut out as well. So I didn't cover the entire thing, but I just used it as a base to then create something on top of. So that's a really fun idea if you want to use the vintage postcards within your own art. I think I did another version of that within this journal as well, if I can find it to show you. Yep, so this one here, this is more just paint. I literally just use paint and pen. There's no collage going on here, but I just added some different colours because this one was a more like sepia toned one, and then lettered on a little quote here. And then I actually really enjoy the way that I added these little flower kind of motifs, and I used just a white pen to fill them in, and I think they really pop off the colour of this postcard. So that's the different way that you could decorate a postcard, and I've just added it in here into a little tuck spot. So this is literally just some brown packaging that I've stapled in, and then you're just able to add your postcard into your page in that way. Now these next couple of examples I want to show you, they are not specifically postcards, but they are postcard-esque. You'll see what I mean when I show you. So this first one here is from the last junk journal January that I did, and I created this journal card here, but I just wanted to show you because this is obviously like a postcard shape. So if you don't have any postcards to hand, you can definitely just cut some card that is the size of a postcard and then decorate as if it was a postcard. So maybe you have like a cereal box or some other packaging, and you can DIY to create your own postcard. You see here I've just added some ribbon, also a stamp, some stitching on the edge here, and then I've actually included some space here for some writing, and then just collaged onto the front here as well. So you can definitely create your own postcard if you don't have one to hand. And I just included that in this little tuck spot here, where the page is an envelope. And then the last one I wanted to show you was actually, it's a vintage style photo, but I thought it would be interesting to show you because it's almost like a miniature postcard in a way, and just the way that I've done the collage and the stitching is a really fun way to incorporate a postcard into your page. So if you don't work in journals that are quite as small as mine and you're able to actually fit a full 6x4 postcard onto your page, this might be another way. You might just want to simply glue it down and use it as a collage piece within your journal to work around. So adding the stitching and layering different elements onto it and using it more as a background or a focal piece. So you don't actually have to have it loose within your journal. You could also just stick it straight in as well. So those are just a few of the different ways that I like to include postcards within my journals. So now I'm going to go ahead and use my postcard for the Junk Journal July page. So when I was thinking about how I wanted to use the postcard within this journal, especially with it being a no-sew journal, I was trying out some different ideas of how I could still use the full postcard without losing any of it, because I didn't want to cut part of it off for this piece. Now, this isn't a real postcard, it's a print, but I've had it for absolutely ages, and I just wanted a way to use it within this journal because the spirit of the challenge is to just use what you have, and this is what I have to hand. I've had it for years, so I wanted to use it. And the way that I decided to add it into this no-sew journal was to cut it in half and to have one side on either of the folds. So you'll see that I've got the right hand side now and the left hand side. So technically it goes across two different spreads within the journal, and that's what connects it together. And I really like the way that this looks. I ended up, for the page that I'm just working on today, using the left hand side, and then that kind of set me up to have something to use for the next day's page on the right hand side. And I really like this because I think with the no-sew format, it's really fun to have something that carries through the different pages and the different prompts. So rather than feeling quite separate and distinct from each other, it creates a little bit more of a flow, I think, within my journal. So I'm just using some coffee here to help to soften the stark white of this postcard. And you might notice, but I had to start doing it really, really gently and carefully because I realised that adding the water onto this card, because it was printed, the ink started to run. So I was trying to be really careful not to end up with a grey haze over the page and over the postcard. So I only added that just around the edge, but I think it helped to soften and to sort of help it look like it was meant to be there with that aged effect. So whilst it was drying, I found a botanical to cut out to use within this page. I absolutely love adding fussy cut florals onto my journal pages, and I think especially with a page like this where I've got something that covers the entirety of the background, it's nice to provide a little bit more of a focal point, and especially because this is quite a delicate flower as well, I think it contrasts nicely. So I just used my small little scissors here to carefully cut this out. This did actually take quite a while to cut out, and at first I thought, oh, I'll just cut out the key bits, and then I started getting into it and I thought, no, I'm going to cut out all the little areas because I will notice it on the page. So it was actually quite fiddly to do this. When I originally saw it on the page, I thought, wow, I really love that illustration. But that's going to be really fiddly to cut out, and maybe even borderlining on a little bit frustrating, because normally I find this quite relaxing to do, to cut them all out. But I didn't really want to use my craft knife for this. I much prefer to use scissors when it comes to fussy cutting. So I started it and I thought, well, I'm going to have to commit. So you'll see I'm cutting around all the little leaves and making sure that I didn't cut off any of the stems accidentally, because this was so delicate, but it really paid off, I think, for the finished cutout that I've got, that I'm showing you proudly there. And then I just glued that onto my page. But before I did, I wanted to add a little bit of collage underneath. So I just had some crumpled pink paper, which added some colour to the page, and also with the postcard having the text on it, it helped just to push that back a little bit and give a bit of breathing room to the page to allow the floral then to pop on the page, and so you could see it, because otherwise it would have been quite busy on the page, and especially because the text of the postcard on the left hand side originally was red. I think it really didn't play nicely with the blue flower that I ended up choosing, so having the pink there helped to soften the colour palette that I was using. And to continue on with the post theme, I had some stamps from some letters that I had, and they were in this really nice like pale green, which I thought went really nicely with the colour scheme that I ended up going with here. So I just tucked them underneath and used them as some collage elements to go with the whole postcard theme, and I think it looked really nice as a way of bringing a bit of extra colour to the page, but in a way that wasn't overwhelming and helped to blend in, I think, with everything that I had going on. Now, of course, I feel like it's not one of my pages if I'm not trying to add some like scribbly crayon details somewhere, so I used my Neo colour, and then I'm also coming in with a white acrylic paint pen here to add some dots, and I'm making a little bit of a mess with that, as you can see, with they're more blobs, I think, that started coming out of the pen, but I just wanted to add some details, and I think that they add a really nice cohesiveness when you have them on different areas of the page. So you'll see there I added them on the top, and then also towards the left hand side as well, so you've got that running throughout the page. And I had an area of the postcard where the ink was sort of running a little bit too much, and I was debating whether to cover that with a bit of collage, but I ended up tucking it here underneath the pink paper here, and I think it worked really well just to help bridge that gap and make it seem like the two pages that I've done here were actually meant to go together the whole time, and that they are one collage rather than being two separate things. And then this is a sticker, and it's like a faux stamp, but it's also got a botanical image on it, and I thought that would be a really good fit. I wasn't really a fan of the stark white trim around the edge of the stamp though, so I did end up cutting that off, and I'm just covering the area there where the ink kind of ran a little bit too much for my liking. It kind of went a bit murky, so I wanted to have something to cover that, or at least to detract from that fact. So I'm just tucking it underneath the actual stamps here, and I think it helps to make those stamps as well look like they are supposed to be here. So you'll just see me there playing around a little bit with whether I wanted it overlapping on both of the pages, but I ended up sticking it just on the one side so that I didn't have to deal with trying to make sure that it stuck down properly over that fold of the page. I think it's a lot easier when the page is folding inwards to have the papers to, play ball and stick properly, but when you're trying to glue something over the fold the other way on this no-sew, I think that's where you have to get a little bit more creative with how you're adding things. So I just decided to keep that on the left hand side. And I also have this PET tape. It's from Note and Wish, and I cut out this little phrase here that said "right back soon." The entire theme of this tape is sort of happy mail, and you've got like postage stamps and labels and things, but I just wanted to have this snippet of text here because I actually didn't include like a quote on this page. Normally I have some form of text to finish my page almost, but I couldn't really see the space for it. I knew I didn't want to work on the right hand side of the page because maybe I could have done some lettering with my brush pen on that space there on the right hand side, but I just wanted to keep it to the left hand side of this page, so I added this little detail as the text element, and then that is my finished page for postcard.